Luis lost a bet with his newly acknowledged godsister. The punishment was staying single for a month. So he handed me the divorce agreement. Sign it. We're just separating for a month. You've got to have some sportsmanship. I didn't say anything. I obediently wrote down my name. Not long after, Luis lost again. This time I have to sleep with her for one night. Just under the same blanket. Purely chatting. Don't overthink it. As he spoke, a small square box slipped out of his pocket. He cleared his throat, made up an excuse about company business, but was actually heading to a hotel. After he left, I lowered my head and replied to the message I had just received. I'm going abroad in a week. Want to come with me? Yes. Chapter 1. The next day, I started packing my luggage. Halfway through, Luis, who hadn't come home all night, pushed the door open. There was an ambiguous red mark on his neck. He yawned. Sleep deprived. Going on a trip? I nodded guiltily. Luis didn't sense anything wrong. You should get out more anyway. Staying cooped up at home all day. You don't see much of the world. Not like Roma, who can chat with me about anything. Roma, the godsister he met at a bar half a year ago. The two of them were inseparable, obsessed with betting games. The stakes had gone from a cup of milk tea or a meal to a hug, a kiss. I had cried. I had made a scene. All I got in return was Luis's look of disgust. It's just for fun. Why take it so seriously? Gradually, I stopped talking. So now, when I heard him belittle me while praising her, I remained silent and continued packing quietly. After a while, Luis asked, "When are you leaving?" 6 days. The next second, my body was suddenly lifted off the ground. I was thrown onto the bed and fell into his warm embrace. Don't move. Sleep with me for a bit. I couldn't break free, forced to breathe in the unfamiliar scent of another woman on him. Chaotic images began forming in my mind. Entwined, frenzied, filthy. As I thought about it, tears began falling one after another. Luis frowned impatiently and symbolically patted my back twice in consolation. Julia, I'm the only one who can tolerate you being this dramatic. Without me, you'd probably live worse than a stray dog on the street. He repeated the same words he had said 10,000 times before and slowly fell asleep. I wiped away my tears and quietly slipped out of his arms. Looking at the face I had loved for 10 years, a sense of resolve rose within me. Even if I end up living worse than a dog, I refused to stay by his side anymore. Chapter 2. As the day of going abroad drew closer, I began to dream more and more frequently about the past. The first time 8-year-old Luis saw me, he stared so intently that he tripped and fell flat on his face. It left a conspicuous scar on his forehead. Yet he was proud of it, in front of everyone. He even declared that he would be my one and only knight, protecting me for the rest of my life. Children take promises seriously. He meant what he said. When the chubby boy next door snatched my candy, Luis blocked him in an alley after school and knocked out 2 of his teeth. When a classmate deliberately splashed ink onto my skirt, he drew 99 ugly portraits of her and plastered them all over the school, scaring her so badly that she didn't dare come to class. Back then, wherever Julia was within 5 meters, Luis would be there. We were inseparable. We liked each other. Until the 2nd year of middle school, on an utterly ordinary day, my parents died in a plane crash. I became an orphan and was taken away by my uncle, transferred schools, changed household registration, traveled thousands of kilometers south. In that unfamiliar environment, I began learning to go to school alone, eat alone, be alone. My schedule was full, yet my heart always felt hollow. On the day I was diagnosed with depression, my uncle's confused and reproachful gaze pressed down on me, making it hard to breathe. I stood beneath a 30-story building, staring at the rooftop with a strange longing. When I lowered my eyes, I saw Luis. I thought it was a hallucination, but he truly walked up to me, looking at me with starlight in his eyes. Julia, I've missed you so much, I'm going crazy. I broke down instantly and burst into tears. Take me away. I don't want to stay in this place where clothes get moldy after drying for days and the cockroaches can't even be killed. Luis comforted me for a long time, then went to beg my uncle. He knelt on the ground and swore, I'll take good care of Julia. I'll stay with her until she finishes school, and we'll get into our dream university together. If I fail, may I die a miserable death. Just like that, he took me back with him. After graduating from university, he married me and brought me home again. At the wedding, as he put the ring on my finger, he cried like a child and once again swore on his life that he would make me happy forever. But when I opened my eyes now, the other side of the double bed was empty and cold. Luis hadn't come home for 5 days. The only way I could know anything about him was through his social media posts. In the latest update, his forehead was covered with medical gauze, as if he had just undergone surgery. Someone in the comments asked what happened. He replied, "Roma said that old scar was too ugly and affected my looks, so I had it removed." I froze instantly. The mark that symbolized a knight was gone. He would never shield me again. I told myself it didn't matter. I was leaving tomorrow. There was no need to dwell on it. Yet the needle-like pain in my heart refused to fade. Chapter 3. After a long while, my phone suddenly chimed with a notification. Come to Nightfall immediately. Nightfall was the largest entertainment club in the city. Inside, all kinds of people mixed together. There were endless ways to indulge, and men and women alike had no taboos. It was also where Luis and Roma met. I didn't like that place, so I put down my phone and tried to pretend I hadn't seen the message. Unexpectedly, another one followed right after. If you don't show up within an hour, you're staying at home for the rest of your life. You're not allowed to go anywhere. Luis knew I was leaving tomorrow, which was why he threatened me like this. In the end, I could only grit my teeth and go. When I pushed open the door of the designated private room, a burst of cheers exploded inside. 42 minutes. Luis bet she'd arrive in 30. Luis loses. Roma wins. He's already lost 18 times tonight. Luis isn't doing this on purpose. Is he? Luis really dotes on her. Luis cast a glance toward the door. There was excitement hidden in his eyes. Yet he didn't acknowledge me. Instead, he turned and hooked an arm around Roma across the table, then kissed her fiercely. An expensive bottle of liquor on the table was knocked over and shattered on the floor. But neither of them noticed. When they finally pulled apart, a thin silver thread stretched between their lips. Lingering and intimate, the surrounding cheers nearly blew the roof off the room. I suddenly felt nauseated, wanting to vomit, wanting to leave. I had just taken a step when someone called out, "Julia, come here." Suppressing my discomfort, I walked over. Luis pulled me close and made me sit on his lap. He pinched my cheek as if scolding me. That just now was a game punishment. You're not allowed to be jealous. It's your fault for coming so late and making me lose the bet. Out of habit, I apologized. Sorry. Someone beside us clicked their tongue. Sister-in-law is so obedient. No matter how Luis plays, she has no objections. I need to find someone like that too. Luis waved his hand carelessly. Don't. Too obedient is boring. Then I'll find someone like Roma. Fun. Exciting. Sure. As long as you're not afraid of pain. He deliberately tilted his head, revealing the fresh bite mark on his neck. That made Roma, who was drinking, laugh and scold him. Cut it out. Didn't you tell me to use more force last night? You said it wouldn't feel good if it didn't hurt. Luis tossed a banana at her irritably. Practice your skills more. They bantered as if no one else existed, completely treating me like air. The onlookers' gazes felt like knives stabbing into me, almost suffocating. I clenched my clothes and asked in a low voice, "Can I go back now? I'm a little tired." Luis paused slightly, as if only then realizing I was still there. He touched his nose awkwardly and casually called a waiter to escort me out. But Roma objected. Sister-in-law rarely comes here. Why don't we play a little betting game? Chapter 4. I instinctively wanted to refuse, but Luis agreed on my behalf. Sure, you think we're afraid of you? Hearing that, Roma quickly took out the dice and blocked my way out. The simplest one, high or low. The winner can ask the loser for one item. A cunning light flickered in her eyes, making me uneasy. Luis clasped my shoulder at just the right moment, reassuring me, "Don't be nervous. Roma just likes bags and jewelry. If you lose, just let her pick something from your storage room." I had never cared about those things. If she wanted them, she could have them. Holding on to a bit of luck, I nodded. The 2 dice rattled inside the cup. 10 seconds later, the cup was slammed onto the table, stopping their motion. Roma spoke first. "I choose high." I automatically chose low. The result, I lost. She immediately reached out to claim her prize. Sister-in-law's necklace looks pretty. I like it. I froze instantly, clutching the pendant at my chest and stepping back. Not this one. Roma's expression darkened. What's this? Can't afford to lose? Don't you have any sportsmanship? After her accusation, dozens of contemptuous gazes pierced toward me. I hurried to explain. It's my mother's keepsake. I can't give it away. Choose something else. I have jewelry worth tens of millions at home. You can take any of it. My parents hadn't left me much during several moves. I had even lost some of it. Now, this was the only thing left. I absolutely couldn't lose it. Roma sneered coldly. Why didn't you say it was off limits earlier? It's too late now. A bet is a bet. No switching after the fact. I like it. So you give it to me. Otherwise, the rules are broken, and no one plays anymore. She pressed aggressively, refusing to back down. I could only look to Luis for help. He knew how important the necklace was to me. He would definitely help me. But he said, Julia, take off the necklace. I stood there in a daze, suddenly drained of all strength. Roma grew impatient and stepped forward to seize her spoils. She tugged at my neck, scratching several thin wounds that began to bead with blood. As if I felt no pain, I stared at Luis. He remained indifferent, not thinking there was anything wrong. You can win it back anyway. You. Before he finished, there was a crisp sound from the floor. Oh dear. My hand slipped. Why is this thing so fragile? It shattered into 8 pieces. So ugly. So ugly. Roma stepped over the fragments as she walked away, even kicking them once more. The room fell deathly silent, my limbs stiff. I bent down to pick up the broken pieces from the floor. The last shard lay near Luis's feet. He moved as if to help, but I shouted him back. Get away! Luis was used to being fawned over. Now that I had defied him, even the slightest trace of guilt in his heart vanished. His tone turned icy. Julia, there's a limit to your tantrums. I ignored him, carefully wrapping the fragments in a handkerchief before turning to leave. Behind me, something was violently kicked over with a loud crash. The atmosphere grew tense. Someone tried to smooth things over. Luis, maybe you should go comfort her. She looks really hurt. Luis snorted dismissively. Forget her. I've already divorced her. If she dies out there, it has nothing to do with me. All these years, I was too good to her, spoiled her so much she doesn't know her place, thinks everyone has to cater to her, even dares to cheat in a game and ruin everyone's fun. It's just some dead person's lousy necklace. What's the big deal? She's insane. If she wants to leave, then let her. Just wait. She has no parents, no friends. I'm her only savior. In less than 3 days, she'll shamelessly crawl back and beg me to forgive her. He said many cruel things. I didn't turn back once. Not a single tear fell. This time, we were truly over. Chapter 5. After I got back, I placed the broken pieces of the necklace into a scented pouch and hung it around my neck again. Then I stood there, staring at the empty room, feeling an overwhelming sense of void. It felt as if there was nothing left. After living for so many years, I hadn't managed to hold on to anything. How useless. Once again, I couldn't help thinking, why hadn't I boarded that plane back then? If I had, I could have stayed with my parents forever. I wouldn't have been taken away by my uncle who only wanted the inheritance, nor brought back by a boy who would later change his heart. I wouldn't have drifted like duckweed, rootless and unwanted. After thinking it over, I sent him a message. I won't be going tomorrow. Wish you a safe journey. When that was done, I walked into the bathroom. Just before the water in the bathtub reached the tip of my nose, a phone ringtone forcefully broke into my ears, urgent and loud, as if possessed. I struggled up and answered it. My throat, soaked in water, felt sore and swollen. I forced the sound out to say his name. Eric? Eric was a student from a poor background whom I had sponsored. After graduating and getting married, Luis rejected all my job offers. He said society was dangerous and feared that too much exposure would trigger a relapse of my depression. He said it was enough that he could provide for me, that I should just stay home obediently and enjoy life. For the first 2 years, I barely had to lift a finger. Clothes when I reached out, food when I opened my mouth. Happy, yet idle. watching shows, browsing the internet. By chance, I came across a website filled with young students struggling through hardship yet still clinging to their dreams. My heart ached, and since I didn't lack money, I sponsored more than a dozen of them in one go. Later I found out most were scammers. Only Eric was different. He had it the hardest, no parents, working part-time while studying since elementary school. He was also the most sincere. He never asked for an extra cent. Each month he only requested enough to eat his fill, and if there was any surplus, he returned it. He gave me all his personal information openly, reported his daily life to me, and shared photos of his certificates and medals. Over time, I witnessed Eric getting admitted to a prestigious university and starting his own company with his partners. On the day he graduated from university, he was not only an outstanding graduate but had already achieved modest success in his career. I felt gratified for him, yet I declined his invitation to attend the ceremony and unilaterally cut off contact. Because my father once said, lend a hand when someone is at rock bottom, but when they stand high, leave without leaving your name. Until half a year ago, we ran into each other again at the headquarters of Luis's family company. He had come to negotiate business. I had come to visit. The negotiation had just ended. Luis, furious for not securing the percentage he wanted, knocked over the lunch I had brought in frustration and stormed off. The soup I had simmered for 4 or 5 hours spilled across the floor and stained the hem of my skirt. The atmosphere turned awkward, suffocating. At that moment, a man in a tailored suit walked over and crouched down to wipe it clean for me. Sis, your husband has quite a temper. Eric looked up at me. Gone was the firmness he had shown at the negotiation table. In that moment, he was like a tame wolf. That was our first meeting offline. Later, because of business dealings, we crossed paths more often and resumed our online contact. On the day I walked out of the Civil Affairs Bureau, Luis hurried off to a hotel without a second thought. Eric happened to send a message. Sis, how have you been lately? I told the truth, not very well. I got divorced. I don't know where to go. He suggested, you could travel somewhere, clear your mind. But a bird that has stayed in a greenhouse too long, even when returned to the sky, no longer knows where to fly. Eric then said, I'm going to Switzerland on a business trip in a week. The scenery is beautiful there. Want to come with me? Okay. Chapter 6. From the other end of the phone, he asked anxiously, Sis, do you have other plans? I stared at the bathroom filled with overflowing water and was momentarily speechless. No. Then why did you change your mind? Because I'm a little tired. I was too tired of my bleak and miserable life. I didn't want to struggle anymore. Eric fell silent for a long time. For a while, the only sound on the line was the wind. I thought the call was about to end and was about to get up and return to the bathroom. Unexpectedly, I heard him speak again. Sis, let me take care of you, then you won't have to be so tired. I froze. In that instant, I lost the courage to leave alone. My fingertips trembled slightly as I carefully uttered a soft syllable of agreement. Eric arrived quickly. I had no idea how fast he drove. He reached downstairs before the call even ended. He changed his flight, picked me up, and headed straight to the airport. Everything happened so swiftly that it almost felt like he was kidnapping me and running away. By the time I sat on the plane, my hair was still damp, and my mind was still hazy. He asked for a blanket and draped it over my shoulders, ordered a hot drink, and placed it into my hands. Then, as if performing magic, he pulled out a stack of magazines from his bag and set them in front of me. If you're bored, you can take a look. You used to study fine arts. These are some of the more authoritative art journals from recent years, both domestic and international. You should be interested. His voice was gentle and accommodating. I need to handle a few small matters. If you need anything, just call me. Only after I nodded did Eric turn to his laptop and begin working. The glow of the screen cast light onto his refined features. His long fingers danced across the keyboard. Impeccably dressed, he looked exactly like the untouchable elite one sees in television dramas. Yet somehow, I felt at ease. I took small sips of my drink, feeling warmth gradually return to my body. When I opened one of the magazines, the vivid colors on the pages instantly rushed into my eyes, filling a life that had once known only black and white. Outside the window, the moon shone brightly, lighting up the sky, as if it could light up me as well. Chapter 7. After arriving in Bern, the capital of Switzerland, Eric took me to the hotel. One suite. I slept in the master bedroom. He slept in the guest room. This time, he had come to inspect a partner's machinery factory, which concerned a large future order for his company. So during the first week, he was especially busy. Every morning he would leave before I woke up. On the table, there would only be a note with a greeting and breakfast he had prepared, and a daily updated travel itinerary. It included every detail: what transportation to take, which nearby restaurant to eat at, what time to check in at which attraction. He was like an invisible tour guide. Even when I couldn't see him, he was everywhere. Following the itinerary, I visited many places: art galleries, museums, the clock tower, the rose garden. I took photos, ate good food, admired the scenery, watched various performances. It felt wonderful and exciting. Even during transfer times, the most ordinary streets seemed interesting. I could stare at uniquely designed street lamps for ages, like a country bumpkin who had never seen the world. I wandered through the city, yet I felt unprecedented relaxation and freedom. Luis had never taken me on a long trip. He always said that since I had a history of depression, I should limit contact with the outside world to avoid overthinking. The old me had lived within a confined space, which was why everything felt dull. But now, I found myself a little greedy for this world. Eric and I would see each other for the second time of the day at dinner. After the meal, he would patiently listen as I shared what I had seen and heard, a gentle smile always resting on his lips. Then he would transform into a praise machine. "Sis, have you considered photography? The scenery you captured is stunning." Knowledge queen. As someone completely blank in art history, I learned so much today. Hearing someone 5 years younger praise me like that made my cheeks burn. I couldn't stand it and stopped him. "Enough. Where did you learn to compliment people like this?" "From you." "Of course." My heart skipped a beat. The soft light in his eyes instantly pulled me back to many years ago, when we first met. He was the sponsored student. I was the sponsor. First place again? That's amazing. You broke the record, little brother. You're going to be extraordinary in the future. It turns out that fate moves in circles. The tree once planted may one day become the umbrella that shields you from wind and rain. Chapter 8. While Switzerland was peaceful and serene, someone on the other side of the world was restless and agitated. In the private room that was usually filled with neon lights and revelry, the air pressure was unusually low. At the center of the storm, Luis smoked one cigarette after another. His face was dark and terrifying, frightening everyone into silence. Because Julia was gone, 7 days had passed since their unhappy parting, and he still hadn't received any attempt at reconciliation. An inexplicable panic rose in his heart. Unable to hold back, he went home to look for her, only to discover she was long gone. Her frequently used belongings and documents had all disappeared. He called her, only to find he had been blocked. All other means of contact showed nothing but red exclamation marks. This wasn't going out for fun. It looked more like a clean break. Luis refused to believe Julia would dare leave him. He had already raised her into uselessness. A canary with broken wings could never leave its owner. But what if she did? The more he thought about it, the more irritable he became. In the end, he forced himself not to think and gathered a group to drink. Yet as the alcohol went down, his unease only burned hotter. Something invisible had slipped out of his control, and it deeply unsettled him. Roma arrived late, dressed in black silk and a spaghetti strap top that revealed large swaths of pale skin. She sat directly beside Luis and pressed herself against him familiarly. Who made Luis unhappy? Tell me. Little sister will think of a solution. Luis waved her off perfunctorily. Nothing. Don't worry about it. Roma pretended to guess cleverly. Is it because sister-in-law ran? I told you not to worry about it. Luis suddenly raised his voice, cutting her off like a male lion on the verge of rage. Roma shivered involuntarily, her eyes reddening with grievance. But this time, Luis didn't comfort her. Instead, he continued drinking on his own and spoke coldly. If you ruin the mood again, get out. Roma wisely shut up and proactively poured him more alcohol in apology. Bold as she appeared, she was ultimately just an attachment living off a man's favor. Once she was no longer allowed to draw nourishment, she would wither like a flower. That night, Luis drank himself into a stupor and was carried home. He collapsed onto the cold, empty bed and groaned uncomfortably. "Wife, get me a glass of water." What answered him was endless silence. Chapter 9. On my 8th day in Bern, I woke up as usual, like opening a blind box. I was ready to check today's travel itinerary, but the paper was blank. Confused, I finished breakfast. Just then, the door opened. Eric walked in, surprisingly not heading to work, carrying a huge package in his hands. "Good morning, sis." He greeted me with the energy of a lively puppy. I smiled back, but my eyes couldn't leave the package. "What's that?" Eric told me to open it. After unwrapping it layer by layer, its contents were revealed. A complete set of drawing board, easel, brushes, and paints. I had it custom made. I urged them several times. They were almost annoyed with me. "Do you like it?" I touched the lower corner of the drawing board. My initials were carved there. It felt like cement was blocking my throat. I couldn't speak, so I nodded vigorously. I liked it. Very much. It had been so long since I had touched these things. When Luis kept me at home, I didn't have to do anything. Painting, which I had persisted in for nearly 10 years, became my only joy. I posted my works online. They received many likes and compliments. Before long, I had over 10,000 followers. Some even messaged me privately asking if I could take commissions. I didn't care how much money I would earn. Being liked, being needed, that sense of achievement made me accept. Until Luis found out. The client that time happened to be a man. He flew into a rage. "Julia, I feed and clothe you well. Is it so you can cuckold me?" I frantically explained that I hadn't done anything, but he refused to believe me. He made a scene for days and nights, not coming home, until everyone thought I was ungrateful. In the end, I had to give in. I deleted my account and stopped taking commissions. Luis, still uneasy, threw away everything related to painting. Then he held me and kissed me softly. "Julia, having me is enough. Those things don't matter." At the time, I nodded in agreement like someone who had lost her mind. But now, the heat burning in my heart told me, passion matters too. It isn't something I should give up for anything else. That day, the weather was perfect, bright and sunny. I chose a park near the hotel as my sketching spot. Eric helped me carry the equipment over and set everything up. He stood with his arms crossed, smiling with crescent eyes. "I'm looking forward to seeing you show your skills, sis." I gripped the brush shyly. "I'm afraid I'm rusty. It might be so bad it angers both humans and gods." Eric raised an eyebrow. "Then I'll go against both humans and gods and be your #1 fan." He said it sincerely and firmly. My breathing faltered for a moment. The sunlight fell on him, his short black hair moving gently in the wind. I would probably never forget this morning, nor the man standing before me. Eric still had work that day and couldn't stay with me. After expressing his regret, he left, looking back 3 times in a single step. I took a deep breath, feeling the beauty of nature, and then immersed myself in my own world. Chapter 10. Time slipped by in a flash, and before I knew it, it was already noon. I hadn't noticed at all. It was only when Eric called to remind me to eat that I came back to my senses. As soon as I returned to the hotel, my phone rang again. Thinking it was still Eric, I answered casually. I miscalculated. The last voice I wanted to hear came through. "Julia?" Luis didn't know whose number he had used to call me. "Do you need something?" Now, when facing him, I felt no heartache, no fear, no ripples at all. My tone was calm, no different from speaking to a stranger. There was a clear pause on the other end before he spoke again. "Where are you? Send me the address. I'll come pick you up." I was genuinely confused. "Why would you come pick me up?" Luis's voice was unusually gentle, persuading slowly. "Julia, I know you're angry, but it's been so many days. You should calm down by now. Besides, you don't know how to do anything. You can't take care of yourself. If you stay out there too long, you'll cause trouble for society. And if you get sick or hurt, I'll be the one who feels heartache. At worst, when you come back, we'll work together to find an identical necklace. After all, objects are dead. People are alive. We still have to live our lives." I reminded him calmly. Luis. I'm not going back. We're divorced. Seeing that I wouldn't budge, Luis gradually grew impatient. That was just a game. The 1 month is almost over. We'll just go to the Civil Affairs Bureau and remarry. It's such a simple game rule. Are you incapable of understanding it? I couldn't comprehend his logic, why I was always the one expected to swallow my anger and conform to the rules they thought were reasonable. Now, I didn't even want to try to understand anymore. But you were the only one playing. I was always serious. Divorce means divorce. Don't contact me again. We have nothing to do with each other. After hanging up, I let out a long breath of relief. This counted as putting a period to the past. I was going to begin a new life. Chapter 11. On the 12th day, Eric finally wrapped up his work ahead of schedule after days of working from dawn till late at night. The trip became one for two. We went skiing in the Alps. During the day, we dove down from high slopes like free birds. At night, we relaxed in wine taverns, sipping wine and listening to music. We hiked Jungfrau, measuring the height of heaven and earth with our own steps. At the summit, we laughed and cheered, feeling that life was meant to be this way. We strolled through the streets of the old town, slowly savoring the beauty shaped by time, taking photos together wherever we were amazed. Along the way, we observed with our eyes, recorded with cameras, and painted on canvas. By the final stop, the hotel living room was already filled with paintings. I wondered how to deal with them. There was no way I could bring so many back home. Eric suddenly said, "We could sell them to people who like them." I hesitated, even though Eric had praised my paintings to the skies. I only thought it was the thick filter of someone close to me. I had no confidence that strangers would approve of them. But in the end, I decided to try. We framed the paintings and set up a small stall in an open space. Unexpectedly, they drew a lot of attention. Children liked the simple, vivid animal portraits. Adults preferred the atmospheric landscapes. Before sunset, more than a dozen paintings had already found new owners. I counted the money in my hands, unable to stop smiling. So much money I had earned myself. After bustling about all day, Eric looked at me with sparkling eyes. "Sis has become a rich woman. Little brother is hungry." With a grand gesture, I bought freshly made hot dogs from a street vendor in full. "For sis to treat you. I, Julia, am not a freeloader. I can support myself. I can take care of others too." After eating and drinking our fill, we lay on the grass, gazing at the starry sky, counting stars to close our journey. Suddenly, a shooting star streaked across the sky. I grabbed Eric and made a wish. When I opened my eyes, I found him staring at me without blinking. The emotions in his eyes shimmered under the moonlight. I turned my head awkwardly. "Why are you looking at me? Look at the shooting star." "Shooting stars can't grant my wish. Only you can, sis." I laughed awkwardly. "Nonsense. I don't have that kind of power." "You do." In my senior year of high school, all the financial aid spots were taken by students who didn't even lack money. I was so hungry I couldn't afford food. With nowhere else to turn, I filled in my information on a website that didn't require any qualifications. I prayed someone would see me, would help me. I didn't need much, just enough to eat. Very soon, my wish came true. A big sister sponsored me. She was kind, not only willing to give me money, but also cared about me. She praised me when I won awards and encouraged me when I struggled in business. "Sis, I lost my parents early. I didn't have many friends at school. I treated you as family." Eric spoke slowly and steadily, as if he had rehearsed these words in his heart for years. But I couldn't remain as composed as he was. I broke down, sobbing uncontrollably. "I was too cruel to cut off contact with you. To be abandoned by someone you considered family, how painful that must have been." Eric gently wiped away my tears. "At that time, it really hurt. I thought I wasn't strong enough, that I wasn't worthy of being chosen by you. So I turned the sadness into motivation, worked desperately on my career, and walked back into your life. It was a huge misunderstanding." I shook my head frantically. "That's not what I meant. I just thought I couldn't help you anymore and didn't want to disturb you. It's my fault for being self-righteous." Hearing my apology, Eric held me tenderly. "Sis did nothing wrong. Sis was just too kind." Chapter 12. After a long while, I finally calmed down. I straightened up and declared, "Go on. Tell me your wish. This time, I'll definitely make it happen for you. Eric's gaze burned with intensity as he blurted out. I want to be on the same household registration as you. Sis. I had been fully prepared. Even if I had to climb mountains of knives or cross seas of fire, I would have helped him fulfill it. But I clearly hadn't prepared enough. I hadn't expected that kind of answer. My mind froze for a moment. For two adults to be on the same household registration, how exactly could that be done? Quite a riddle. I looked at him uncertainly. At some point, Eric had shifted from sitting on the ground to kneeling on one knee. In his hand, I didn't know when he had produced a dazzling stone that sparkled brilliantly. Sis, I like you. Marry me. To be honest, it was a little sudden. After all, I had just ended a disastrous marriage. But Eric wasn't Luis, and I wasn't the weak, helpless Julia from before. This trip had helped me rediscover myself. It gave me the ability to save myself. Even if the future didn't go smoothly, I wouldn't wallow in self-pity. I would just keep working hard and living on. There was still so much beauty in this world waiting for me to explore. So I asked my own heart, and found that I liked Eric too. Without hesitation, I extended my left hand. Eric, be my family. After returning home, I moved into Eric's spacious apartment. He said that before. It was just a house. Only after I arrived did it become a home. I couldn't quite describe the feeling. Perhaps it was happiness. Once my living situation stabilized, I reopened my account. I posted the paintings from our trip to Switzerland. Very quickly, likes and followers started pouring in. To my surprise, someone commented, "This art style looks so familiar. Are you Julia, the teacher who suddenly deleted her account years ago?" Someone still remembered me. I replied, "It's me. That person instantly responded, "Ah, teacher, you're back. I've missed your work so much. Can I place a commission?" Yes. My private messages were suddenly flooded. I was overwhelmed with joy, practically blooming inside, and immediately messaged Eric to share the good news. He sent me a thumbs up. Not long after, my follower count began growing exponentially. I suspected he had bought followers from me and went to confront him. He admitted shamelessly, "I couldn't resist showing off my excellent wife in the company group chat. Sis doesn't mind, right?" My face flushed hot. We had only registered our marriage a few days ago. How could he say wife so naturally? A few months ago, I could never have imagined that life would not only emerge from the shadows but even fall into a jar of honey. So never give up on life easily. The reversal may come in the very next second. But what I hadn't expected was that even after I had walked 800 miles away, someone back there was still trapped in the past. While I was out buying paint supplies, Luis found me. He walked over, suppressing his anger. "Julia, stop making a scene. We're going to remarry right now." I found it absurd. "Sir, if you had come any later, I'd already have a child." Chapter 13. In the cafe, Luis and I sat facing each other. The manager personally brought over the coffee, warm and courteous. "Miss Julia, this one is on the house. Please don't be polite. The paintings you arranged in our shop have attracted quite a few customers. You're my benefactor." I couldn't refuse and thanked him politely. After the manager left, Luis's expression darkened. "You started painting again?" I nodded calmly. His face stiffened, and beneath it flickered a trace of panic. In that moment, I suddenly understood something. He had done it on purpose. All these years, Luis had fed and clothed me on the surface. But in reality, he wanted to raise me into a vine that depended entirely on him, unable to leave. He wouldn't let me work, wouldn't let me socialize. I was only allowed to revolve around him. His joy and anger were my whole world. His push and pull were the rope around my neck. He enjoyed being the one in power, exercising absolute psychological control. But now that I had the ability to live independently, he was afraid. "Making money is hard work. Leave that to me. You don't need to do this." Luis coaxed patiently. "Let's remarry right now. You can go back to the simple and happy life you had before." I couldn't help but sneer. Even now, he still treated me like a fool. I opened my phone, pulled up a photo of my marriage certificate, and placed it before him. "Luis, I'm married." The red certificate and its official seal pierced into his eyes. The composed mask he was forcing to maintain cracked inch by inch. releasing a furious beast beneath. Eric? How do you two know each other? Why would he choose you? I tilted my head slightly. Why wouldn't he? I'm pretty great. I've won national awards. I've been called a genius. I earned my place in a top art academy through my own ability. I'm this good. Of course someone would like me. Luis froze for a moment. He couldn't lie to himself, because even he was deeply drawn to the confident woman in front of him. But that only fueled his anger. How dare she abandon him and throw herself into another man's arms? Yet he had already lost the means to control her. A sense of powerlessness and loss of control swallowed him. It bent his spine, lowered his head. After a long while, I finally heard him say, "Julia, I'm sorry. I was wrong. I won't play those betting games anymore. I'll change everything that's bad about me. Please forgive me. Come back to me. Julia, please." His eyes were red. His posture lowered in a way I had never seen before. But I remained unmoved. There's no chance. Chapter 14. I left that meeting early. I treated it as an insignificant episode and soon forgot about it. I continued enjoying my creative work and managing my account. When Eric had free time, we would go to the outskirts for sketching trips. Recently, he had fallen in love with photography, carrying a camera everywhere, capturing landscapes, so much so that our home albums had grown thick. Everything was going well, until that day. Under a newly posted update, a flood of vicious comments suddenly appeared. "Don't be fooled by this bad woman. She's not a good person. Morally corrupt, unfaithful, abandoned her husband and seduced another man. I know her. She pretends to be obedient, but she sucked her husband dry for years. The moment she found someone better, she dumped him. Many people defended me, but some believed the accusations and began attacking me. For a moment, the comments and private messages descended into chaos. I was briefly flustered, but soon noticed clues. I found the leading account and sent a private message. "Roma, is that you?" She replied quickly, "Yes. It's me. You ruined Luis. He's seriously ill now, won't eat, won't drink, like a walking corpse. I'm going to avenge him and ruin your reputation." Her vicious insults flooded the chat window. There was no reasoning with her. I logged out and began considering how to respond. Eric quickly learned of it and called. "Sis, don't worry. I've already notified the legal department to collect evidence from the comments section. We'll sue them one by one for defamation and make those spreading rumors pay the price." My heart warmed. Being protected by family felt wonderful. But beyond that, I had to deal with the source of the trouble myself. I went to the hospital where Luis was staying. When I pushed the door open, I saw Roma crouching by the bedside, trying every possible way to coax Luis into eating. She was met with rejection. "Get out! It's because of you that Julia won't forgive me. I don't want to see you again." But the next second, the chilling hostility vanished. He saw me, surprise and excitement flooding his face. "Julia, you came to see me." Chapter 15. Roma was shoved aside, her face turning pale and red in turns. She looked at me with venomous hatred, ignoring her malice. I said to Luis, "I'm not here to see you. We're divorced. Even if you die, it has nothing to do with me." Luis froze. Those were words he once said to me. Now the boomerang had come back to pierce him. It hurt so much he could barely breathe. "I'm here to tell you that you've already affected my normal life. Can you disappear?" Luis, stop torturing yourself to pretend you're devoted. The pain you're suffering now isn't even 1/10,000th of what I endured all these years. As for Roma, the lawyer's letter is on its way. What she did is enough to land her in jail. Roma instantly went pale and hurried to beg Luis for help. "Luis, save me. I only did this to defend you. This bitch never loved you. I'm the only one who's sincere to you." When Luis realized what she had done, his chest heaved in rage. He slapped her hard. "How dare you!" The heartless man showed no mercy. Instead, he declared he would make sure she could never survive in the city again. Roma lost her last support. She collapsed onto the floor in despair and was dragged away. Her future destined to be bleak. The hospital room was left with just the two of us. Luis explained ingratiatingly, "Julia, I really didn't know about the dirty things she did, but I promise you'll never see her again. I'll handle it. And you? I don't want to see you again either. Can you handle that?" I looked at him. Luis fell silent, his expression twisted in pain, his body trembling unconsciously, unwilling to give up. He asked, "Julia, we've known each other for 20 years. Can you really let go of what we had? Don't you remember the good times? Can't you forgive me just this once?" I shook my head firmly. "We've known each other for 20 years. I suffered for 10, Luis. I would have remembered your kindness for a lifetime, but now when I see you, all I think of is you sleeping with other women, your cruel psychological belittling, your endless trampling of sincerity, your betrayal and infidelity. I've endured enough harm. I don't owe you anything. If you have even a shred of conscience left, stop disturbing me. I had said enough. I had done more than enough." There was nothing beautiful about the tears on his face. I didn't spare them another glance. I turned and left. Behind me echoed the cries of repentance. I knew then I had completely escaped the mire. It was deep winter, yet outside the hospital the sunlight was unusually bright. Eric leaned against the car, tall and graceful, opening his arms to welcome me. I rushed into his embrace, feeling the warmth. From now on, love and home, though late, would remain by my side.